on the thumbs, and then you interlace the fingers and they block your mouth. You look straight ahead but slightly down. And what happens is you virtually disappear because there's nothing there for anyone to see. So after a while, people will avoid looking at you because there's nothing new there. There's no novelty. At SCI Suburb asks, my question is, when you see the eye twitch of irritation, how do you use body language to help the other person feel more comfortable without directly addressing the fact that you saw them appear irritated? A lot of times we display discomfort through our eyes. We'll squint, we may look away, we may cover the eyes when something is bothering us. And the easiest way to make other people more comfortable without saying anything is to move slightly away and angle yourself. Humans tend to approach each other directly. What we don't realize is that this actually minimizes face time. The closer we get, the more intense the look. This can act as an irritant. One of the best things that we can do anytime is when we approach each other and we sense that there's some sort of irritation or psychological discomfort, is always to move back and then always angle yourself so that you're looking at each other at angles rather than directly. This, whether you're in business or in interpersonal relationships, this actually minimizes face time, where by angling, this increases face time because it contributes to psychological comfort. At Jessica Basic 2 asks, is duping delight then pretending to experience delight? Or is it like narcissistic smirk? So in 1986, Paul Ekman coined the term duping delight. And basically what that looks like is you have this little smirk on your face like you're getting away with something. I would say it's like showing off. You can take great pleasure in getting away with something, but when you exercise duping delight, it's sort of like telling the world, yeah, I got away with it. So here we have a question from @Artemis Moon God, and he asks, are there body language differences among different cultures? Do people of different countries display different body language cues? Yes. In other cultures, they say hello differently. We tend to wave our hands high and above. In other cultures, they may do it more subtly. We tend to say, oh, everything's okay, and yet in other cultures, that's considered a phallic symbol, so they don't do the okay sign. We like to shake hands, and we do so all over the United States, but interestingly enough, we have cultures within cultures. So in New York, you may have more of a strong grip, where in the Midwest, it might be just a quick touch of the hands and movement away. It's always good to consider the culture that you're in, because when we mirror these behaviors, it lets others know that we respect them and that we are in synchrony with them. And of course, as I've always said, synchrony is harmony. Here's a great question from @2believes_yes. Can body language be submitted as admissible evidence in court? Absolutely. In the famous 1967 case of Terry versus Ohio, the Supreme Court considered this, and they said if a police officer can articulate with particularity the body language that he or she observed, it can absolutely be used in court to justify the actions of a police officer. To answer your question again, absolutely yes. @John Robinson asks a very important question, and it's directed at me. Most of your FBI profiling career, Joe, was before today's more widespread autism awareness. But did you interview known autistics? Were they different? My approach was always to deal with the person that was in front of me, however they manifest. There were some people who were on the autism spectrum. And as an interviewer, it's not my job to figure their behaviors out other than to note them and say, how do I get around this? You deal with each human as they present, and you try to work with them to establish communications. And if that means stepping back, if that means handing them a piece of paper, if that means not making eye contact, then so be it. Dale Roxu asks, how can I end a conversation politely with someone that talks forever without just walking off? Tried looking at the watch with no luck. Dale, I've been there. You try to give off signals, you look at your watch 2 or 3 times, but let's face it, with some, nothing may ever work. The first one I like to do is I orient my foot towards an exit. A lot of people catch that and sense that I'm moving away slightly. There's other times when no amount of body language gets through to these people. And so what I do is I put my hand on their arm and I say, buddy, I'd love to stay, but I gotta run. Take care, must go, so long. Oh, this is one of my favorite. At Sinister Vaults ask, hey Joe, what does it mean when people...
I had like fucking 8 different jokes that I could have snuck in there, but they've passed so far, including body language from people in fucking New York. Also, I don't have any fucking onions left, dude. Hey, you better fucking watch it. I wanted to run in here and pause and yell about different types of fucking body language. Or gestures that might be offensive, like the, the symbol like this in certain contexts. Onion powder, it's not the same as like having fucking actual onion in your curry, dude. You hate JCS now? Wait, what? I love JCS. I kind of want to watch like the Patreon JCS
while
too.
Sitting. Well, I'm glad you asked that because I do that all the time. Shaking the leg or the hands or the feet is a repetitive behavior. And just like twirling the hair, strumming the fingers, anything that's repetitive is a soothing behavior. I do it all the time, and it's just to calm me down. So here we have a great question from @Osana F. I have a question. It may be more difficult to answer, but if anyone can do it, it's Joe. My question is, why do some people tend to divert their eyes to the mouth of the person they're speaking to? Very simple. Lip reading. A lot of us take comfort in reading each other's lips as we're talking to each other. And that's one of the things we found out when we started masking up for COVID-19 is how much we do this and didn't realize we were doing it. @JollyCX asks a very important question. With the rise of AAPI hate, many Asian Americans are being attacked both verbally and physically. What can we do to pinpoint specific body language actions in which one appears hostile and to avoid conflict? There is no specific body language that might indicate hostility other than things that are quite visible. But we know from studies done in the 60s that there are things that we can do by the way we carry ourselves, making ourselves both physically visible, but making ourselves larger. Something so simple as walking with a greater stride, looking around, making eye contact with everybody you see. The other one is get off the phone, look around, don't bury your head down, and just be aware of everybody around you, and hopefully that will help. So here's an interesting question from Shut Up Togna. What body language do I have to use to tell the people at the next table that I find them really interesting and would love to be friends with them? Why are you waiting for body language? Sometimes the easiest thing to do is to say, I find what you're talking about fascinating. Do you mind if I join you? And that's often good enough. From @Khloe Kardashian. I've always been intrigued watching interrogation videos and looking for clues in their body language. So have I. There's so much information that we give away while we're being interviewed. Our reactions, for instance, to the question that's being asked. I think you're onto something, Chloe. The fact is that we use body language to evaluate how people do in interviews, not to detect deception, but to look for their reactions that might indicate psychological discomfort. So at Andrea, and then there's a B, 97951440. How many others could there be with that number? Anyway, I'd love the verdict of the professional body language expert on Megan. She twitched, she took her head the wrong way, did not make eye contact, a good performance from a trained actress. So I believe this question has to do with the interview with Oprah and Meghan Markle. Anytime we see an interview, you really don't know what's behind the camera. And that affects everything in front of the camera. You don't know how many people are there providing lighting, sound, how many producers are present, who's moving around, and so forth. The second thing that you don't understand is the context of everything that has happened before the camera is turned on. So what I tell people is this: look, when you listen to an interview, listen to the words that are said, and then just compare it with what we know. The fact of the matter is, we don't know what was going on because we only saw what was in front of the camera, not behind the camera. At Inefficient asks, is mirroring someone's body language equivalent to flirting? Not necessarily. You can certainly do it to flirt, but it's not always indicative of flirting. At Superstar Comms asks, is mirroring body language in confrontational situations always beneficial or ill-advised? You know, I think the better question is, how do we use body language to either improve a situation or to diffuse it? Because certainly we don't want to escalate it. If someone's angry and posturing and yelling and screaming and puffing their chest out, and you do the same thing, that's counterintuitive. That's just going to get you to be angry and agitated and so forth. My philosophy is one of you has to calm things down. And the easiest way to do that is not mirror the behaviors, to step back, angle your body, tilt your head, lower your voice, avoid the eye contact, and take greater control of yourself so that the person that's out of control will look ridiculous while you look like you have mastery over yourself. Replying to @Gigi Poo, she asks a great question. Give me an example of a power pose. Most of us are familiar with the arms akimbo, elbows out. Everybody knows that. But we can actually do a power pose by placing our elbows on the table, and rather than placing them near us, place them further apart and then steepling. Steepling is the only behavior
Take notes, chat.
that we humans share that is indicative of confidence. At the Aiden Hunt asks, you ever see two people sitting together at Starbucks and wonder if it's a first date or a job interview? Yes, I have, in fact. So job interviews and courtship behavior, dating, have a lot of similarities. Both are drinking coffee at the same time and so forth. So what I look at is, are there differences? Are they truly mirroring each other in a social way, or are they mirroring each other in a more intimate way? But also keep an eye on the feet, because when people like each other, their feet will go near each other. At Jarzim asks a very timely question. I'm required to wear a face mask to do my job interview tomorrow, but I can't decide if it's good for me or it's bad for me. We often think that the whole face is communicating, but the fact is your whole body's communicating. Use your eyes to express sentiment. So we use the eyebrows as exclamation points. Tilt your head when it's appropriate. Use your shoulders to communicate. Your whole body communicates. Put it to good use. At Nusans and Gigi asks, if body language is important, why aren't we taught it at school? That's a good question. It should be taught in school. We are born without the ability to speak. And so we must be able to read the baby in order to take care of that baby and feed it. Number two, we assess for danger non-verbally. And number three, courtship behavior. We use body language. So to your question, why isn't it taught in schools? I would argue the better schools do. So here's a question from, I don't make these up, folks, at 1H3LL0K as in kilo, 1, TT as in tango, tango, Y. You can tell a lot about a person from their eyes and body posture. You can see if they are confident or not, and by the eyes, I can always tell when it doesn't match the smile on their face. Well, congratulations. This is one of the things that I always look for is, do all the clues that come from the body say the same thing? Sometimes you get mixed answers. For instance, a person will say, yeah, I really like that, but as they're saying that, for instance, the lip will pull up, so it'll look like this. Yeah, I really like that. No, they don't. To look for the synchrony in all the body language that you read. So congratulations at 1H3LL0, K as in kilo, 1, tango, tango, Yankee. It's no surprise to me that people are both interested and captivated by body language. It's the primary means by which we communicate. We may not know all the terms of art, but boy, we're interested in the eyes and the mouth and the chin and everything else about us. And this is why we study and we examine body language, because innately we know this is really the #1 way that we humans communicate with each other every day.
Classic Redditor, dude. The last guy. Which is like, not even a fucking question. Okay. Khloe Kardashian watches this stuff too. Yeah, she watches me, bro. I have seen the Mortician one. We watched that before. I had to replay the video so you could pause, huh? Shut up. I'm kind of bummed with the... What happens when you tickle a fish? I'm kind of bummed with what I got today with respect to my food.
How do you tickle a fish?
Oh my god, he's like happy, dude. What the fuck?
How do you tickle?
Isn't that fish dying? Literally fucking dying. He's like, it can't breathe, it's gasping, and this guy is just like... Okay, there was a fucking video that we were gonna watch. Who has the JCS playlist? Who's got the hookup on that? The fish is a millennial, literally non-waterboarding. I'm a fish expert. This fish is in fact orgasming. Hey King, I see you're in the background of this Han Hutz video or photo. What am I? It's at the 100th Thieves house. Why is nothing loading today? What the fuck? Am I? Where am I? Why'd you say I was in the back? Bro, I'm not even in the background. You're such a fucking liar. You literally just wanted to link the Handhuts photo. You fucking freaks. What a Weasley little liar, dude. Thought you could use a good laugh. No, I don't want to watch the ableism thing, but I want to look at like JCS, the case of Grand Amato. We already saw Grand Amato. The Insanity Defense Part 2.
Now to a mysterious case unfolding in Oklahoma tonight. A 911 call coming in overnight.
Wait, is this the family? Is this the Oklahoma family, the Minecraft kids?
The first sign that something was very wrong. 5 family members.
Yeah, this is the Minecraft family kid. Yep. We've already seen this one recently. We should look at another one. Which one is good out of these? Do you guys know? Dude, I'm not going to play Rust right now. I'm going to play Rust after, okay? I need to eat. I need to eat first. I need to eat. So let me fucking eat really quickly, please. Is that possible? Will you allow me to eat before I play Rust? Is that okay? Can I please eat before I play Rust, okay? Everyone's like freaking the fuck out. I have to eat food. It's literally 5:30, okay? It's 5:30. It's 5:30 p.m. I'm hungry and I'm angry, okay? Fuck. Like neological? Rust? P.O. Box? Oh God. Please. Please do all the things. Oh God, please. Like, I can sense your nervous energy even the way you're fucking chatting, dude. No, we're not going to finish P.O. Box before Rust. No. We'll do P.O. Box tomorrow, okay? Stop. I don't know if these are TOS or not. There's one on Ted Bundy. I kind of want to watch it.
You know that my daughter was a force to be reckoned with. And I guarantee you, you motherfucker, that you will be reckoning with that force.
The same people who tell you to play Rust will leave when you play it? Oh, for sure, for sure, for sure.
Not only for the rest of your pathetic life, but for the rest of eternity as you fucking burn forever.
You have the right to remain silent and refuse to answer questions. Do you understand?
Yes.
The case of Karina Vetrana? Wait, this isn't Ted Bundy. What the fuck? Did I just get debated? Wait, was that an ad? Oh, it is an ad.
Of all the great dualities of human experience, good and evil have been the most instrumental in shaping the laws, rituals, and beliefs of mankind. The concept is more theological than psychological, and its polarization has been the influence for the many narratives found in constructed systems of designated behaviors and practices with relation to transcendentality, also known as religion. And whereas all religions associate and advocate for good to the present day, the darker shadow of human nature has become definitively more secularized over time. Given the significant progress in clinical neuroscience over the past several decades, many believe it is now possible to explain and illustrate the concept of evil through the scope of psychobiological theorem. Until recent times, specialists in the field of behavioral neuroscience have avoided using empirical methods to deal with a subject. In the professional discourse, evil has been consistently viewed as an elusive topic at best, and as a dangerous topic at worst that should not be, nor need be, turned into a scientifically researched field of inquiry. No more than a century ago, the notion of evil epitomized only two meanings. The first understanding of the concept was obviously linked to religion, and evil was viewed as human conduct in defiance of a higher power's commandments. Any perceived violation of a holy code in accordance with a specific religion was essentially an act of evil, although not necessarily punishable by law. The second understanding of the term was formulated in politics during wartime, and the word was used to encourage an intolerant and extreme stance toward the enemy for the purpose of quelling skepticism and nonconformity among the civilian population. Yet, despite—
Damn, I can't believe JCS is showing old Dr. Seuss photos, dude. Old Dr. Seuss drawings.
its guileful conceptualizations, widespread usage of the term has since evolved into contexts surrounding extreme forms of cruelty, abuse, and premeditated violence. Science has now adapted a strictly psychoanalytic frame of reference in the exploration of what renders some human beings capable of doing inhuman things. For over 3 decades, the psychological makeup of Ted Bundy has been a focal point in the fields of neuroscience and psychiatry with regard to the interconnection of behaviorism and evil. And of all the elements surrounding his infamy, the most concentrated detail was his ability to not only live, but thrive in a double life. He was able to sustain a long-term relationship, attend college, and build a political career while secretly carrying out the most unthinkable crimes. This underlying factor brought about the initial premise that Ted Bundy was most likely the prototype for psychopathy, a condition that falls under the umbrella of antisocial personality disorder. Forensic psychologists will often refer to what's known as the psychopathy checklist when assessing the presence of the condition in an individual. The first trait on the
For the record, Ted Bundy, another incredible Republican, and not only that, but also retweet this so that fucking people don't yell when they come in halfway through and say, I'm going to wait a little bit. Because people are going to fucking yell and shit on me for fucking not seeing it or whatever. Forehead. Here you go. Put a trigger warning in the title? I did already, so I don't know what you're fucking complaining about. I'm already mad at you for missing like 3 minutes and 33 seconds. Hey man, you're a fucking 12-month subscriber. Maybe you should be more of a variety Andy rather than exclusively in it for the murder. Just saying.
Checklist is cunning and manipulativeness. Bundy would prey on his victims with a ruse, often wearing his arm in a sling or his leg in a fake cast while walking on crutches. He would then use his charm and fake disability to convince young women to help him carry books or unload objects from his car. Once they got to his vehicle, he would strike them over the head with a blunt object, then handcuff them once immobilized and force them into the front seat of his Volkswagen, where he had removed the passenger seat to leave an empty space on the floor for his victims to lie out of sight as he drove away. The next two traits of the psychopathy checklist are glib and superficial charm and grandiose estimation of self. Ted Bundy's personality and social graces defied the serial killer stereotype, allowing him to hide in plain sight as he committed his many brutal sex crime murders before being caught in 1978. Despite never finishing law school, he had the confidence and belief in his own acumen to represent himself in court for his alleged atrocities. By doing so, he essentially destroyed the only argument that could have saved him from the death penalty, which would have been that he was mentally disturbed and deserved mercy. But the mentally disturbed don't make effective lawyers, and most adjudicators have acknowledged that this self-representation was more than adequate, and his courtroom demeanor came across as exceedingly charming and intelligent, which captivated the nation during his trial, and effectively turned him into the pop culture icon he is today.
Would you please state your full name for the record?
You, Robert Bundy.
Did you try to stop the search?
No.
Why is that?
Well, I'd say I was afraid to, but that's not exactly the way. I mean, it's not that I was quaking in my shoes. I felt that I couldn't stop them from doing what they were doing, that they were going to go ahead and do it no matter what I did. They were intent. The questions from Sergeant Ondrak and, Sergeant Hayward and the other officers at the scene indicated that they believed that I was involved in some sort of activity and they were hostile about it. The questions seemed hostile to me, indicated to me that they were going to do damn well what they pleased, and I did not...
You didn't see any point?
There was no point. I didn't see how the heck I could stop a half a dozen uniformed armed officers from searching my car.
They didn't ask you for your consent?
No.
I have no further questions.
Mr. McKeever?
Thank you, Judge. Just a couple of things. That's not the first thing you told Hayward, though, when he asked you what you were doing in the neighborhood, did it?
What? Excuse me?
He asked you what you were doing in the neighborhood, and you didn't tell him right off what you were doing in the neighborhood, did you?
I told him what... I responded to his question.
I understand. What was that response?
As I recall, the response, I don't know when it occurred, was that I had been in the neighborhood to drive a movie.
Isn't it a fact that you've done all of the research on this particular motion?
Yes, such as it is. Yes, I have.
Have you found some cases on the point?
I found too many cases.
And the point we're talking about is consent to search, isn't it?
That's one of the points we're talking about.
Are you familiar with what the factual basis would need to be for a consent search to be thrown out?
Yes, I'm familiar with it. I am now. I wasn't then.
That hasn't colored your testimony a bit.
I think you'll find, well, no it hasn't. And I think you'll find if you review my testimony in the suppression hearing in Utah that it's essentially the same.
That's all I have, Judge.
Perhaps the most
Yeah, that's not very smart. Especially when you're like a serial rapist / murderer. So you don't really have a lot of leeway with like what people will believe that you're saying. So then to just like require charitability from anyone to assume that your testimony is going to be fine. I don't know.
conspicuous testament to Bundy's manipulative charm came from the courtroom judge, Edward D. Cowart.
A judge in Miami today followed the jury's recommendation and sentenced Theodore Bundy to die in the electric chair for the murder of 2 co-eds. Bundy is the 136th person under death sentence in Florida. Ed Rabel reports.
Before pronouncing the sentence, Judge Edward Cowart let Bundy make a statement.
I'm not asking for mercy, for I find it somewhat absurd to ask for mercy for something I did not do. So I will be tortured for and will suffer for and receive the pain for that act. But I will not share the burden for the guilt.
In imposing...
Are there any Ted Bundy truthers out there?
Sentence,
there have
Judge
to be,
Cowart
right?
cited the savagery of the crimes and what he called the indifference of the defendant.
This court, independent of, but in agreement with, the advisory sentence rendered by the jury, does hereby impose the death penalty upon the defendant Theodore Robert Bundy.
Then, in an unexpected move, perhaps an afterthought, Cowart stunned the courtroom with some parting words for Bundy.
Take care of yourself, young man.
Thank you.
I say that to you sincerely. Take care of yourself. It's a tragedy for this court to see such a total waste, I think, of humanity that I've experienced in this court. You're a bright young man. You made a good lawyer. I'd love to have you practice in front of me, but you went another way, partner.
Despite repeated and detailed testimonies of the unspeakable horrific...
Yo. Around, like, it's wild to consider that he's like a fucking serial rapist murderer. But like around that time, and even to this day, like black people don't get seen as human beings in the eyes of our criminal justice system, even when they're innocent. So, interesting to see a fucking judge simp for a dude like
infractions committed. Bundy's contrived enchantment was not lost on the judge, who
He was
even showed
well-spoken
affinity and
after all.
compassion to the man he had just sentenced to death. The next 5 traits in the psychopathy checklist are the need for stimulation, sexual promiscuity, impulsivity, callousness, and lack of remorse, all of which are bracketed by the horrendously vicious and depraved nature of Bundy's crimes. He was able to rape, torture, murder, and mutilate at least 30 young women, many of whom were teenagers and 2 as young as 12. He then prolonged the wickedness by returning to visit the corpses at their dump sites, or even taking them home in order to gain further sexual gratification. In some cases, he even shockingly displayed their decapitated heads in his apartment and
That's the guy that he said you're charismatic to.
Slept with their corpses until putrefaction made it unbearable. The next trait on the psychopathy assessment tool is criminal versatility. Setting aside Bundy's ability to carry out dozens of abductions in broad daylight, followed
Bro, who took these fucking photos, dude?
by the barbaric murder and disposal of the victims while remaining completely undetected from authorities for half a decade, he was able to escape prison not once but twice while under close surveillance as a high-risk inmate. Bundy was first arrested in August 1975 after coincidentally being pulled over for a traffic violation and having multiple items pertaining to his crime spree found in the trunk of his car. 2 years later, while being held at the Garfield County Jail, he managed to convince the district judge to allow for more lenient restrictions while outside his cell, which included the removal of handcuffs and leg shackles. This standard of leniency was unheard of at the time in the state of Colorado for inmates charged with a capital offense. Not only that, but he was allowed supplementary access to the prison library to study his case as he was representing himself in court. Once the supervising guard left for a cigarette break, Bundy jumped out of the library's second-story window and ran for the mountains.
Bundy jumped out of this second-story window at the front of the Pitkin County Courthouse this morning. He was scheduled for a court appearance and apparently had been locked into the law library by sheriff's deputies while attorneys were arguing a motion to strike the death penalty. Witnesses say he left in a hurry, however, nobody saw him open the window, and he escaped clean in an unknown direction. At both ends of town, the sheriff's department put up roadblocks and searched each vehicle leaving the town of Aspen. As of late this afternoon, Bundy was still missing, but a court clerk said they'd arrested 9 people on warrants and confiscated 200 pounds of marijuana. All day long, County Sheriff Dick Keenest has been circling over the wooded hills in a helicopter looking for the suspected rapist killer, but with no success. Ted Bundy, according to Mike Fisher, chief investigator for the DA's office, is a dangerous man, and folks just don't seem to realize it. Fisher is one of the most agitated men in Aspen right now. He refused to comment for our cameras, but he directed a few obscenities in the direction of the sheriff's department and said the sheriff was criminally negligent for allowing Bundy to escape. Meanwhile, life goes on as usual in Aspen. Single, unescorted women walk the streets, presumably unconcerned. They apparently don't know or don't care that Ted Bundy is a chief suspect in the murders of at least 18, possibly 30 young women in 4 states. Each of those women disappeared without a trace, frequently from well-traveled areas just like downtown Aspen. The only trace of many of those women was a pile of skulls. No other bones, just skulls, found on the side of a deserted mountain slope in Washington state.
It was not until 6 days after his escape that Bundy was finally apprehended when he was pulled over by police in a routine traffic stop for driving a stolen vehicle. When an inmate is recaptured after managing to escape a correctional facility, U.S. legislation requires them to be kept in isolation for a minimum of 18 months. Bundy was rehoused in a special housing unit of the Garfield County Jail, where 6 months later, he miraculously managed to escape once more. The unit he was housed in had just undergone maintenance, and his cell happened to have a small hole in the ceiling, which was meant for a light fixture that hadn't been installed. Despite being unaware if the hole would lead to anywhere, Bundy ingeniously hatched a plan to lose enough weight over the following months until he was able to finally squeeze through into the crawl space. On the day before New Year's Eve, 1977, he managed to get access to the vent system where he crawled through the area just above the apartment of the chief.
What makes it even wilder is that, like, what makes it even wilder is it's the top of the hour. So I can't believe I haven't run an ad break yet. He vented, yeah. He's a sussy baka. So if you'd like to no longer see the ads, you already know. All you need to do is subscribe. You can do it for $5 or for free with a Twitch Prime. Oh, God, this is so spicy. Okay. Here's the outbreak. Now, no, what makes it even wilder is that, like, America's criminal justice system is so unforgiving and so horrible. So it's insane that, you know, they have, like, if you escape, you get isolation for 18 months, solitary confinement, and Ted was still able to juke his way out of it.
Chief jailer, who was out for the evening with his wife. He broke through the ceiling and changed into street clothes from the jailer's closet, made his way to the front entrance, and casually walked out the door to freedom. On January 15th, not long after his escape, he broke into a sorority house and killed 2 young women with a wooden club while they slept, and severely injured 2 more. He was finally captured 1 month later, as he was caught driving a stolen vehicle while attempting to flee Florida, and was then incarcerated at the Florida State Prison, where he remained in administrative segregation until his execution date on January 24th, 1989. Given the aforementioned conduct and idiosyncrasy of Ted Bundy's character and its concordance with the psychopathy checklist, one might come to the conclusion that Bundy was undoubtedly a psychopath, and this was the general consensus in the 1970s, 80s, and early 90s. Yet over the last 3 decades, psychological studies into cognitive processes have developed tremendously, and now the overwhelming majority of leading psychiatrists are in agreement agreement that although Ted Bundy had psychopathic traits, he was most certainly not a psychopath with respect to its true meaning. This is because Bundy was a sexual sadist, and the brutality mixed with the sexual elements of his crimes would back such a conclusion. He wouldn't just rape his victims, but inflict physical and psychological suffering upon them while doing so as a means for heightening stimulation. The isolated component of sexual assault wasn't enough. The concurring affliction of physical torture and mental distress was essential in achieving his desired effect of sexual gratification. Sadism requires empathy, as you need to be aware of someone's pain to take pleasure from it. But psychopaths are incapable of empathy, thus cannot be sadists, and for this reason, Bundy's previous diagnosis of psychopathy has been ruled out for almost 2 decades. To the present day, the general condition affiliated with Ted Bundy is what is known as malignant narcissism, a psychological syndrome comprising of an extreme mix of narcissism.
And this is precisely where you stop the broadcast to say that criticizing him would be ableist.
Antisocial behavior, aggression, and sadism. While the elements of aggression and sadism speak for themselves through the contorted barbarity of his crimes, the component of narcissism was derived from his indulgence and savoring of the spotlight. He thrived in the attention and drama the press created around him. Psychopaths and sociopaths are not interested in validation of any kind, yet Bundy had a clear, deep-seated need to be seen and heard.
Theodore Robert Bundy, you are charged, indictment, 2 counts burglary, 2 counts murder in the first degree, 3 counts attempted murder in the first degree. Design or intent to effect the death of said Lisa Levy. My chance to talk to the press. Contrary to section 78204 Florida statute. I'll plead not guilty right now. And your grand jury...
For somebody who believes he is so innocent, why was there no emotion?
People say Ted Bundy didn't show any emotion. There must be something in that. I showed emotion. You know what people said? See, you really can get violent and angry. There's no right way for me to act. Sure, I'm showing emotion right now. I don't like being locked up for something I didn't do, and I don't like my liberty taken away, and I don't like being treated like an animal, and I don't like people walking around and ogling me. But I've kept it together because there's no point in destroying myself. I have got to keep myself together. I have got to...
This is a great point. Disturbing that the judge thought he would be a great lawyer. Somebody check on what lawyers are up to. Yeah. It's a bit of a self-report on the entire fucking, criminal justice system across the board. When a judge will turn around and be like, hey, I know you raped and murdered in the most horrific, brutal ways 28 women and even some girls, teenagers, but you would make a phenomenal lawyer, dude. You fucking killed it. Yeah.
To stay calm, I've got to keep my presence of mind, because as long as I do that, I'm going to beat these people. And that's the way I feel. I'll tell you, as long as they attempt to keep their heads in the sand about me, there's going to be people turning up in canyons, and there are going to be people being shot in Salt Lake City because the police there aren't willing to accept what I think they know, and they know that I didn't do these things. And the man who kidnapped Carol Duranch is going to continue to be free, and not only her, but every other young woman in the Salt Lake Valley is going to be threatened by that person or persons. And it's happening today, and it's going to happen in the future. I swear to God, every man in that prison at one time or another thinks about going, wishes he wasn't there, and wishes he could fly over those fences. I've dreamed about flying over those fences. I've dreamed about climbing over those fences and tunneling under those fences. With every other man in there, I've dreamed about being free. Ever physically harmed anyone? No. No. Again, not in the context.
Unlike all of those other people, he has actually materialized those dreams.
I think that you're speaking of.
Most of the things he did in life were calculated and self-serving, which included when he chose to confess to his horrifying atrocities. He maintained his innocence throughout his murder trials, and for the
Dude, if Ted Bundy was around right now, there would be so many fucking stands on Twitter. His personal experience is valid. He had NPD. You guys are being so fucking rude and ableist. You know what I mean?
vast majority of his time on death row. It wasn't until days before his execution that Bundy decided to confess during the latter part of January 1989. He disclosed a litany of infractions to Special Agent William Hagmaier, who is part of the FBI Behavioral Analysis Unit, and who later stated that the sole reason for Bundy's delayed admittance was to extend his life. From Bundy's perspective, his inside knowledge of violent crime was a valuable source of information that needed time to fully disclose, and in turn would delay his execution for at least a few years. Hagmaier stated that the man had no capacity for guilt, only for survival. Bundy admitted to the murder of 30 women. He confessed to rape, torture, necrophilia, and decapitation. 10 of his victims were buried, some were dumped in remote locations, while others were dismembered and displaced, and their remains were never recovered. Despite his proclamation, his execution wasn't stalled. He had ran out of appeals, and his execution date of January 24th, 1989 was practically set in stone. On January 22nd, just 2 days before his day of reckoning, reports stated that Bundy had reached out to Christian psychologist James Dobson, who had attempted to contact Bundy multiple times throughout his years on death row, but to no avail. He was asked to meet Bundy at the Florida State Prison to conduct what would be his final interview. Dobson accepted, and the consult started just 19 hours before the scheduled execution.
What the fuck? Why is it so low? The audio got cut by YouTube? No, I can hear it. Can you not hear it? Like at all? We hear squeaks? Wait, I'm gonna run it. Hold on. You not hear it? Wait, why can I hear everything that he's saying? Yo, clip it and send it to me. Clip it and send it to me. What the fuck? You not hear it? What the fuck? Bro, I can literally hear it. Hold on.
Home against the odds.
You can hear that, right?
Okay.
Dad. That's so strange, dude. I can hear what he's saying. Hold on. I can hear.
Oh, and they know.
Oh God, it's so loud. I can hear what he's saying.
That I didn't do these
Oh God. Okay, that's still very loud.
things. And the man who
That's kind of crazy that I can literally hear everything he's saying, but you can't.
1989 was Dobson accepted, and the consult The reference Bundy just made about the sporadic shifts in his emotional tranquility and his newfound prolific mindset is identified in neuropsychology as the psychodynamic experience of debated nature. It's characterized by an atypical state of consciousness that usually occurs in life-threatening conditions. It's essentially a derivative of a near-death experience and delivers a newfound perspective and appreciation of time in relation.
Oh, the OBS on my desktop audio is down mixed to mono stereo, sometimes causes that issue. That's what it is. No, because it's on, my OBS is on mono. So you guys don't hear that like random one ear music or random one ear sound. And that's the problem.
To cause and effect.
How do I change it? How do I change it? Dude, I'm gonna fuck your mom in Rust, okay? Shut the fuck up. I'm not done eating yet. And also, I'm not gonna stop in the middle of a fucking video, dude. Like, shut up. Okay, I need like... You should be able to disable the mono down mix without restarting stream. Select desktop audio, right click, and check settings for that channel. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do right now. Is it filters? Advanced audio properties, maybe? Desktop audio. Audio monitoring off. No, that's not it. Oh, it is on mono. Hold on. Watch. You can hear it now, right?
Prolific mindset is identified of time.
Stop eating and fix it. No. The problem is, if you're on mobile, it's not working. If you have headphones, it's working on one ear probably. Yeah. Because it's coming out of one. The sound is coming out of one. That's the problem. We established it already. Spend a tiny amount of your millions and fix this shit, man. How about I fix it by banning you permanently? Fucking idiot. There's literally nothing I can do. The sound mixing is broken on the video. Man, I really fucking despise some chatters. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, if you are this way, like, it's despicable. Like, you probably are so difficult with your parents. Like, I really feel terrible that people have to be in your company. Like, a dumbass that has that kind of approach is probably unbearable to be around in general. Like, and I know the rest of the chat fucking despises dipshits like that too. Oh my god. Oh my god, maybe I should change it in the OBS settings to make it be mono. Dude, that's such a brilliant approach, dude. Oh wait, that's what I automatically had, so fucking babies don't complain all the goddamn time when there's like dumbass audio happening. And that's precisely why downsizing it to mono was making it sound like nothing was going on when I did that already. Fuck, dude. That's shit, dude. Fuck, thank you. Good suggestion. Anyway, I feel bad. Maybe that person just came in and he thinks he's being helpful. I'm just annoyed with like all the fucking, not that guy, but just all the other people who are annoying as fuck and complaining about shit I can't change.
This is one of the fundamental elements that has detached Bundy from his previous diagnoses of psychopathy, sociopathy, and narcissistic personality disorder, but instead affiliated him to his more recent diagnosis of malignant narcissism. He displays thoughtfulness and compassion towards his family, something highly unlikely for an individual to fake in his position, and demonstrates that he genuinely loves his parents. A psychopath, sociopath, and anyone suffering from NPD cannot love. They can pretend to love, and often use the facade as a tool for emotional manipulation and control, yet the biochemical reaction between neuropeptides and dopamine pathways does not occur, and the
Wait, what? That's not that's not true. Or for NPD, that's not true. I confirmed I can hear it on PC but not on mobile, if that helps. Yes, because the iPhone forcibly makes the iPhone speakers forcibly make it mono. And when it goes in, when it turns into mono, it automatically blankets the sound that is supposed only coming from the left speaker. That's why.
euphoric feeling that neurotypicals get when reuniting with a loved one is a completely foreign concept and unknown to individuals with these conditions. Malignant narcissism, however, requires the apperception of these emotions. A malignant narcissist can only derive sadistic gratification from inflicting pain and sorrow when they fully understand the concepts of pleasure and contentment.
What a piece of shit, dude. Not only does he fucking murder and rape and murder so many people, but then he also goes after porn. You son of a bitch, dude. Fuck you. Yeah, I'll say it. I'll fucking say it, dude. Ted Bundy, not a good guy. Okay? I know it's a fucking brave take. You don't get to hear that a lot, okay? I'll fucking say it, dude. You are a bad person, Ted.